Shazad, you know what I feel like? In whatever culture or whatever setting we are born in, we are blindfolded by so many things. Like I'll tell you, probably by our culture, by our religion. I'm telling you why I'm saying blindfolded. We'll move on to that,
Go
okay?
ahead.
By our gender identity, of course, by the type of caste that we have, by the type of color and creed we belong to, right? These are sort of blindfolds because when we grow out of them, when we start removing them one by one, for example, if I stop caring about my religion only and the people belonging to my religion, I think that is that is when I'm becoming more humane or, moving towards humanity. If I care equally about all religions, if I care equally about all colors and castes and everything, all cultures, empathize with them, have compassion for them, I feel like that is probably a step towards humanity,
Exactly.
right? And everyone has to grow through it one day or another. I mean, you're definitely not born with it, but to learn, to pick around from your surroundings, that is when I think you're becoming more humane.
Well, that's fabulous. You've said it right, and you've hit the nail on the head once again as well. But very quickly, because we had a difference of opinion over here, ladies and gentlemen, while you were going through the facts, me and Ma'am Shazia were actually discussing something else.
Okay.
So, ma'am, I said, okay, for all those viewers who are out there as well, because this is a repeat telecast from me and ma'am as well. So what I said that, a lot of times when we are actually operating within our own businesses, for example, we're going to give somebody a particular number of amount of money,
Right.
what happens is usually we see that people do not return it. Whenever we're working, we see that, people are very fraudulent in their services too as well.
Right.
You went to, these are normal examples from daily life. For example, you go to a guy, you want him to fix your car, he'll fix one thing, he'll break another one. Why do we have to go through all of these things? Why can't people think? Because this is what we get to hear. Usually when I was getting up, if I'll make a mistake, my father would say, yaar, insaniyat nahi tere andar. This thing. So, but it cannot be instilled by just saying it. It is instilled by an example as well. But Madam Shazia actually has to say that this is not humanity. Humanity is something else. So what is humanity then? I mean, we need to correct ourselves over here.
Well, I kind of agree to disagree.
Okay.
For me, I think the principles that you're talking about and that we see manifested in our society, that is the dishonesty, lack of truthfulness, people trying to take advantage of others, people running away, as you mentioned earlier, after accidents with people's wallets. We see people not measuring whatever is being bought correctly. People lying at for every small thing. I think, I believe that that's part of the principle that one is given by one's faith, and it is also a moral compass which is within you, how you set it. And I think moral compasses are really set by families, by
Culture,
people.
most important.
I think education, not even culture.
Not even education, but I think by families, by parents who instill these principles in their children by example. And the second place where the child really spends most of the time outside homes are schools, at the cost of repeating myself. But and as far as humanity is concerned, humanity, empathy, philanthropy, charity, welfare, you see, that's what encompasses. I mean, that's a bigger picture, that's a macro picture, and within that are your principles which you follow.
Right.
So you need to adhere to those principles, but at the same time imbibe the values of being charitable, imbibe the value of being welfarist, imbibe the value of being humane.
All right.
So
right.
and that goes cuts across not only religions, castes, creeds, color, everything.
Okay.
But the principles that our society lacks today, I think, are emerging because of not being taught in school, and I think not being taught at home.
Okay, so very quickly.
I know you have a question, I'm so sorry, but I think from what I've heard from you, Ms. Shazia, and from you, Shazad, you both are basically believing the same thing, but the only difference is that you very rightly said that all these virtues sort of are in a larger bracket. We, Shazad and I, believe that larger bracket is humanity, and all these things are virtue of that. And you beg to differ, but that's all right, though.
Yeah, that's
all
all
right.
right. And which is why, this is the right time that I'm actually going to explain you what kind of a nation we are.
Okay.
So imagine recently, there's been a bill which has been passed as well that every other building actually needs to make sure that, disabled person can come in and go out
Yes.
within the infrastructure. So what I've witnessed literally just a few days ago. So within the hospitals, wherever there is disability badge vehicle, which it should be parked within that particular area, somebody else will actually park their car within that particular area where only a disabled person should park. Okay, so imagine that we as a nation do not give way to ambulances. Imagine that if there was a petrol tanker in an accident, people would come with buckets to steal the petrol. So do you think that we...
Shehzad, it's a matter of, let me tell you,
Yeah, sure.
it's a matter of compliance.
We'll definitely
Yes.
come to you after this.
It's definitely a matter of compliance,
It
because
is.
if you train people by adding penalties or fines, in US, if you park in a disabled parking lot, it says clearly that you'll be fined $500. So I
Exactly.
think it's not the humanity part,
Okay.
but it's
Yes,
the
yeah.
it's the compliance part, which then trains cultures, which then trains societies. Then it becomes a value which is passed on. We've not done that.
Okay, so are we
Right.
trying to say that humanity is not a characteristic which emerges from within you, which is an inborn thing? Don't you think, or do you think that humanity is something which needs to be taught to people in terms when they pay fine? Okay, okay, I do not have to do. That's not humanity. Then that's something which I would call punishment, and then learning after you punishment that okay, I do not want to give 50,000 again, so probably I'll give way to the ambulance, or probably I will
Right.
not park at the same place.
No,
So how do you think the compliance part will actually come in? Because humanity needs to be inborn. Humanity needs to be within you.
You have to just discover that part. Before you answer that, Ms.
Yeah.
Shazia, there's this one thing I probably disagree with Shehzad and you on this. You rightly mentioned the compliance part, but then, you say that we don't give way to ambulances
Yeah.
or we take spots for, people
And
who
people have lost
deserve-
their lives, a lot of
No, I
people.
understand that, but that's just some cases, Shehzad. And do not give me the example of US or Europe. Those are first world. And ladies and gentlemen, when we say this, it's not only something theoretical that you're reading in a book, they're first world, we're third world. This is actually third world, and there is no comparison.
We're a
comparison.
developing country. Okay,
Yes, of
that's
course,
that's
we're a
more
developing country.
heartening to hear.
I get it, but not to sugarcoat anything,
Yeah.
okay? There's definitely no comparison with us in that part of the world because we are not even that much developed, like you rightly said. In even those parts of the world, I have seen people, take place of people living with any disabilities. I have seen them take their rights, their advantages and whatnot. So it's not just a Pakistani thing to do. It happens all around the world. Other than that, about the compliance thing, I think it's a vicious cycle. When you're looking at, Shehzad, you mentioned that if you go to get your car fixed, something
Yeah.
happens. Even happened with me with my laptop. I went to get something fixed. They rather took parts out of my laptop, and I never knew, unless, of course, it was completely out of use and someone told me someone stole your parts. So I think it's a vicious cycle because it starts when you're lacking something. Majboori ya zarurat jise hum kehte hain, that is where it develops, right? And then it goes on to a larger scale where you lack humanity, and then
See,
comes back
see,
to that. So I think
Caesar, I again tend to disagree. We've been facing a lot of the kind of problems and challenges that you've just described.
Yeah.
I mean, we face them every day in our lives. But I mean, slightly diverging from the topic here,
Okay.
but I recently realized that the Prime Minister Citizen Portal that has been launched, where you can lodge a complaint,
Yeah.
because that's a kind of a compliance, it's a feedback from the customer.
It is.
And then there's a compliance mechanism.
Right.
So I see a lot of issues getting resolved.
Yeah, they are,
And then
yeah.
people getting this idea that, they need to be careful before committing the same
Right,
mistake in the
right.
future.
Exactly.
I think, our religion has taught us that it's a system of check and balances.
Yeah.
If there are no checks, the society or the balance is lost. And I think currently the thing is we've lost our balance because there are no checks in place. The minute you put checks in place, because by nature, man, if given freedom, somebody said that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So, I mean, the minute if you give them the minutest of leverage, they'll take the space.
Yeah.
So, you need to keep that check, and this responsibility is with the state.
I agree.
And
I-
the state's institutions.
No, so I agree with the part of check and balance, but
Yeah.
I disagree with the part where they will take room if you do, allow them everything. I do believe
will,
In,
but
no,
that's-
I
that's
believe in
nature.
equality. No, I agree, Shehzad, but I do believe in equality, and I think if everyone gets a fair chance, there is not going to be, these some major evils that we see in today's world. But moving on to you, Mr. Jawad.
Okay, but let me give my piece of mind
Okay,
too
yeah,
as
yeah, of
well.
course.
So where you said that you actually agree to the part that the compliance part of people do not need to do this, but you saying that people shouldn't actually be taking up that space, but that's not how things are. anybody who's going to get 1% of leverage, he's actually going to go ask for 5% more as well. And this is how things are. And we probably need to correct these things as well. You know, this is something which we need to do. But then at the same time, we've taken out a picture for everybody who's out there as well and for you guys. So, and what we're going to do is that we're going to share that picture on the screen. You guys have to share your thoughts. We will share our thoughts and we'll see, you know, what kind of a message we're going to come out with. So ladies and gentlemen, this is a new segment we're introducing. And it's Picture of the Day.
Picture of the Day,
Go
yes.
ahead, take a look. Let's see what kind of a picture we have today. Ma'am, what do you have to say about this?
I think it's very much related to what we are talking about.
A helping hand?
A helping hand, most definitely.
But do you think that a single hand can actually help so
I
many other
think-
hands?
I think it can.
It
Or
can,
make a
yes.
It can.
I think
it has
it's-
a huge potential.
I think it's a connection. I
Connection.
think it's a bonding. I think it's ethical values.
Nice, that even
Wow,
makes sense.
well, that's great.
And can we remove the space between Picture of the Day and the hashtag though?
The hashtag is
Text.
picture and then the rest is off the day as well. Well, my take on this picture, ladies and gentlemen, is that anybody who's out there to help somebody is actually providing them with a ray of hope, and he's actually making sure that people still believe in humanity. You know, it does not really matter how much material you have to help people with, but I think all of what you have, if you're ready to share, I think people will surely be in love with you, and this is what I call humanity.
Absolutely. I think that if you just, you know, move your hand forward for help, you are going to be making a huge difference. Maybe that person didn't know that probably more than one life he's impacting.
Yeah.
And that is what I think humanity is.
Exactly, that's wonderful. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to head out towards a short break. Don't go anywhere, because when you guys will come back, we'll definitely want to lend a hand of hope, peace, love, empathy, and ethos through our program. Please make
Absolutely.
sure to do that. Stay tuned. Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome back to World This Morning, ladies and gentlemen, with the super energetic Shahzad
Whoa.
Khan and the very smiling Shahzad Hashmi. I said smiling because my team is actually, reiterating upon the fact that I have to keep smiling throughout the day.
Well, it's not really important. I mean, whatever you feel like. But then at
I
the
feel
same
like
time,
smiling, but I
think,
don't have the energy to.
I think smile is the best curve a body can
I
actually carry. I think that's
And
that's
speaking
what
of
it is.
agreeing, there's so many things, ladies and gentlemen, that Shahzad
Whoa.
and this side of the, studio, we're agreeing and disagreeing upon.
I think
but that's
I'm pretty
totally
much-
healthy. But
No,
that's totally healthy because
I-
we're learning.
No, I'm pretty much in line with Ma'am Shazia, what she has to say, but Shiza is
I
actually
have
getting
my
along the way that
reservations.
she's actually going to disagree.
Yeah.
But everybody's got their own opinion, and respecting somebody's opinion, I think, can be the very basic rule for being humane, ladies and gentlemen.
I like
Because
that.
I've
I
seen
like the
people
link.
ending up in arguments and people debating over things which they do not agree to with each other, and then they kind of fight.
Oh,
And I do not
right.
want to fight. I want everybody to love each other.
And
you
shall
know,
I
it
tell
is
you
very
something?
important.
Yes, like you mentioned that if we disagree upon something, we just literally start fighting.
Yeah.
Like people watching Afghanistan-Pakistan match the other day. But that is
Yeah.
just one thing. So Shahzad, all my life, I
Yeah.
thought, I have this, of course, being a Pakistani, I have this nationalism and patriotism, which
Yeah.
makes me sort of sometimes resent the other part of the border, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So all my life I thought if I were ever to sit with someone belonging to that side of the border and have a conversation, I'd be super furious and probably, punch them and whatnot. Everyone thinks about that.
Okay.
But this was last month when I was abroad. I happened to sit with a lot of people from that land, and we spoke about a lot of things. Of course, I had my arguments, they had theirs. It was a friendly discussion, yes, but that, of course, made me feel like there's always room for understanding other people.
Yeah.
You are making a judgment based upon only the facts that you know. Probably listening to that side of the story is definitely going to make your mind grow, yes,
Exactly.
and then make you a better human.
Exactly, and as far as I've had my conversation with people from all over the globe, I don't think that anybody's got any problem with any individual. It's just the governments, they have problems.
It's politics.
It's not the individuals. Everybody is in love with everybody, and people know how things are these days. People are very well aware. But now, very quickly, this is, I think, a very important question, and people do that quite a lot of times. I know you need to ask a
No, I
question,
don't.
but
I'm
this is
just-
something which is very close to my heart.
Okay.
And I've seen it, I've witnessed it myself. But I'm going to start with you, Jawad Sahib, and then come down to ma'am as well. Now, what I've witnessed in my life is that if there's somebody who really needs to do something for you, and if he or she fails miserably, you're not ready to do the same for them too as well. In the first place, you're not going to give them time because they haven't done it for you. Don't you think that humanity is all about being selfless? Or do you think it is about you scratch my back and I will scratch yours?
I love the question.
Thank you.
Actually, what I believe is that humanity is what we do things around here. Actually, how we do things, how we tackle the things, how we encounter things. It's all about in our actions.
Yeah.
It's how we choose to be.
Yeah.
So that's make a culture, and the culture makes the social values, and that
Yes.
makes a society.
Yeah.
So basic thing starts what we choose to be,
Okay.
and bringing in.
So what do you choose to be then?
Actually, I feel in every sphere of life, in every field, from academic life to job life and the responsibilities, and even in the different spheres, the lawyers, the accountants. Whenever we are going through difficult phases, what I feel is that we have ethical responsibility to being honest.
Yeah.
Honesty is it's the crux of being humane.
Okay, that makes sense.
No, but I was asking you about being selfless. You know,
Yeah.
how many times, there are situations in our life where we actually have to do something for somebody and then they will do something for us in return too
Yeah.
as well. But don't you think that humanity is one of those things where you actually have to be selfless? You need to have a resolve within your own self, otherwise you cannot be humane. Do you think that this statement is correct?
I feel you have to come out of your comfortable box to be humane.
Yeah, that's correct.
Because I, being a co-founder of Social Echo, a volunteer group, we are working with climatic changes.
Okay.
Because we feel, we have researched, we have made a feasibility that after 2025, there have been a lot of drought and there have been a lot of rain and the flooding.
Yeah.
So we had to plant trees right now to make it comfortable for the next generation.
Yeah.
To make it sustainable for the next generation.
Yeah.
We are dealing with the education, we are imparting education, we are promoting the education to the orphanages, being a co-founder and a volunteer of Social Echo.
Right.
So
And why are you doing all of this? This is something which people
Yeah,
should
what
know.
are you getting in return?
a contented heart.
Wow. See,
That's the answer.
that's humanity.
I think that answers your
that's-
selflessness question
That's
as well.
humanity restored, ladies and gentlemen. But let's see what Ma'am Shazia
I
over
like the
here has
answer.
to say about it. So, being selfless, is it important to be humane?
Yeah, of course. I mean, you can't be a human without being human.
Yeah.
So I think it's what makes up your soul. So, and I think I have never come across anybody who's not essentially good at heart, who is essentially not really, at some point in time, has done some good.
Yeah.
So it is a value which is within us. How we display it, that's a different matter. How we practice it is a different matter. We choose to do it differently at different times, and some are more consistent. The better ones amongst us who do it consistently.
More focused, you
More
know. They
focused,
just do
yeah.
not deviate. And ladies and
Yeah.
gentlemen, talking about one of those person,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen, we cannot definitely forget the services Abdul Sattar Eidi has rendered for the country. From having nothing in his pocket to creating world's largest ambulance network, that too for free. This
And
is
a
Abdul
legacy that
Sattar.
will never die.
Exactly, and this is Abdul Sattar Eidi for you, ladies and gentlemen. Humanity restored. Take a look.
जो मलंग कहते हैं, भले कहीं सियाचिन से लेकर नगर पार तक सारे पाकिस्तान में सेंटर है, होम फॉर होमलेस। किसी को भी लावारिस मिला, इसका काम है उठा के उसको दाखिल करना। ना जात पात ना मजहब, सिर्फ इंसान इंसान को बने। मैं हूँ अब्दुल सत्तार ईदी, मैं हूँ पाकिस्तान।
जगह नहीं है हमारे कि हमारे बच्चे हैं और एक कमरे का घर है तो हम अपनी वालदा को नहीं रख सकते।
घरों में बूढ़ों की इज्जत नहीं है। तालीम याफ्ता हो गए तो इंसान नहीं बने। निकाल देना। रोज के रोज 5-6 बूढ़े मेरे पास पहुँचते हैं।
मेरे पास रहने को घर नहीं था, मेरी वालदा हो मेरे पास, तो इस वजह से ईदी होम की चॉइस की और यहाँ पर आया। ईदी साहब को एक बड़ा इंसान पाया।
I have come to live in Karachi. I came to know very much about this well-known and noble person and sympathizer with all people who are in trouble.
हमारे पास हर एज ग्रुप के अलग अलग वार्ड्स हैं। बच्चों के लिए अलग हैं, टीनेजर के लिए अलग हैं, एजेड के लिए अलग हैं, और जो बिल्कुल मेंटली रिटार्ड हैं या पागल कह सकते हैं जिन्हें, उनके लिए हम लोगों ने अलग वार्ड बनाया हुआ है।
अभी भी इंसानियत को नहीं मानते। हम कबीलों में, सिस्टम में बटे हुए हैं, फरका परिस्थितियों में बटे हुए हैं, और अब सबसे बड़ी बला आ गई, पढ़े लिखे इंसान बने, लेकिन सबों में खामी इंसानियत की खामी। हम इंसान नहीं बने। मुझे सैकड़ों अवार्ड मिले, 250 के करीब, टोटल इनकम 75 करोड़ रुपये। और कहीं भी दुनिया में इमरजेंसी होती है, पाकिस्तान में या पाकिस्तान के बाहर, मुझे अल्लाह ने वसाइल दिया। पाकिस्तान हमारा मुल्क है, कहीं से भी इसको नुकसान पहुंचाने की कोशिश नहीं करनी चाहिए। ईमानदारी से जो भी काम करते करें। पाकिस्तानी जैसी कौम दुनिया में कोई नहीं है। थोड़ा सा हमारा सियासी, मजहबी, कबीला निज़म उसको छोड़ देना चाहिए, इंसान बन जाना चाहिए, इंसानी नाते काम करना चाहिए।
Well, this was Abdul Sattar Eidi for you, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, his legacy is never going to die, although there might be some elements in that setting which, maybe planning to bring down the setting, which is never going to happen, of course, because Pakistan stands behind this. But this is just one of the examples of the amazing initiatives and people who reside inside Pakistan, and they're doing some amazing work for the people in need. And PCP actually has quite a long list of few of them, so we will again be in conversation with Ms. Shazia over here. Ma'am, tell us about some of the organizations that are selflessly working towards
And you've
humanity.
certified those organizations.
Yes,
as
so
well.
I mean, Eidi has become an icon for us.
Yes.
And he stands, he's a symbol.
Yeah.
He stands for the charity and the welfare work that's happened in Pakistan. But I'm happy to tell you that he's not the only one. So there are many organizations, and I think wherever there are gaps, wherever there are needs, whether it's health, education, water, sanitation, there are some excellent non-government organizations, civil society organizations that are doing amazing work in Pakistan. And Pakistan Center for Philanthropy, I think, gives them, through its certification program, a credibility lens, saying that yes, we have looked at these amazing welfare charitable organizations, and we endorse that these are organizations that can be trusted, and people can give their donations, can give their charity, can give their time, can volunteer with these organizations. And I tell you, when I look at the work of these organizations, my faith in humanity, at least, is restored on a daily basis.
That means a lot.
Because there are initiatives, there are people who are working selflessly for the people who are underserved in this country, becoming their voice, becoming their resource, becoming a source for an information, holding their hands. Actually, the picture that you showed in your second segment, I think it really depicts and really reflects Pakistan civil society holding number of hands across the country.
Wow,
And it's wonderful, and you've said it so beautifully that I could actually feel the goosebumps in myself too as well. But then at the same time, very quickly, just a naughty question, which I'm known to ask, and that is, so at PCP, since you hold a very strong and very staunch position, do you think that people usually, call and ask for favors, or probably say that, madam, aap ye hame certification de dein, otherwise, we know how to deal with things?
So Shehzad, the world is not without surprises, and you tend to get one or the other, a few times a year. But I think at PCP we strongly believe in adhering to principles of uprightness, of integrity, of honesty, because I think it's not just about these principles, it's also about maintaining the trust of 200 million plus people. Because if you are saying that, give your donations to this organization, or if you are saying that this is a certified organization, we are actually carrying the load of responsibility on our shoulders. And we would like to do that part of the job very transparently and with full accountability.
Well,
and if you can't do that, you can sit with us.
And thank you very much for saying that and reassuring too as well. That's great. Jawad bhai, what about you? So what about ECHO? Let's talk about that a little bit as well, because we are only left with 2-3 minutes, or whatever you want to say, please go ahead.
So ECHO deals with E stands for education, C is charity, and charity is a broad term. H is humanity, health, both. And it also includes the green health, like the climatic changes. And O is opportunity for sustainability. Like we evaluate, we do need assessment, we select a family, and we make them self-sustainable by imparting some, sometimes the education, sometimes we give them little funds to build themselves through cottage industry. And that's the way we are dealing with ECHO.
And that's great too as well. Thank you very much for being with us. It was wonderful to have you.
Thank you, Shehzad. I think, Shiza, you guys do a wonderful job, and it was a wonderful opportunity to speak about a number of, I think that today's conversation had a number of threads and themes flowing through it.
I know, it was, although quite a large thing to cover, but we did touch upon several things.
Yes. And I think you did a brilliant job.
Thank you very much.
And what I believe is that the basic humanity is taught by our Prophet, peace be upon him. Because when we studied his life, he was always being caring, he was always being honest, he was always being truthful, truthful to his job, truthful to his links to the society, truthful to the other bonds of life. So when you are truthful to your field, to your education, you know what you are going to do, what your job is, and you are, आप उसको हलाल करते हैं. When you are honest at the ground level, so we could say that the government would sustain and the government would be caring back. Because I being a tax consultant, whenever a person approaches me, he used to say, yaar hamara itna tax bana do. He never says, I have this much income. So when you are expecting this much,
So what did you do? What did you do? Sorry, I'm sorry that I'm
I guide them. I guide them. When you pay in the money, you get it back.
Okay. So you guide them. But then have you actually ever given them the same tax amount which they wanted?
Actually, when I guide them, I counsel them, and I get them a little bit changed.
Okay, well, that's great too as well. Ladies and gentlemen, everybody over here appears to be on the right track, and that's what we want for everybody else. Thank you very much for being with us. It was wonderful to have you. But before wrapping up, there's this one simple message, ladies and gentlemen, and that is that, I've got some very basic rules in life, and I want to think clearly. So first things first, whatever you do in life, there's one thing which I'll think. Obviously, Allah needs to know whether, I need to know whether Allah will be fine with this action of mine or not. And then the latter part is that if my mother will say yes to something which I wanted to do, or my father will say yes or no. So these things will actually help you in life too as well.
Right.
In creating a parameter whether some things you should do or not.
Absolutely, Shahzad, I do agree with that. That was actually a very beautiful thing to hang on to as well. I believe, speaking in terms of humanity, I think there have been thousands and, hundreds and thousands of years that the universe has been existing. There have been millions and billions of people. But, Allah chose this moment for you to be in it and for XYZ people to be in it. There's definitely a purpose behind it, so be a helping hand to them. That is what I believe.
Exactly,
absolutely.
that's great. And ladies and gentlemen, it is very well said within our own religion as well that, if there's somebody in need, he or she shouldn't actually be saying that to you. You should understand this in the first place as well. But please do write to us on our Facebook page, which is with the name of...
Well, this morning.
And just because we were talking about humanity, I think that our flow has gone down as well.
I know.
We are more settled. And on Daily Motion and YouTube, it's
Also
going to be
this morning.
And the repeat's going to be at?
11 p.m. tonight.
Till the next time, 1, 2, 3.
Good morning.
Thank you very much.